Hello, everyone, and welcome to my predictions for Super Bowl 54 in Miami, Florida, where we will see the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers face off with the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Now, let's see some stats for this game. Now, all these stats will be postseason stats, so in each team's last two games, which were both in the playoffs. Kansas City's been averaging 304 passing yards per game, which blows away San Francisco's 96. And then San Francisco's been averaging an absurd 236 rushing yards per game compared to Kansas City's only 115. Now, Kansas City is averaging 279 allowed passing yards per game compared to San Francisco's 211. And KC is only averaging 90 yards allowed rushing per game, but San Francisco's also allowing an absurd 42 rushing yards allowed per game. Now, for points per game, Kansas City's averaging a huge number in 43 points per game, while San Francisco's still averaging a very good 32. Then the Kansas City defense is allowing 27.5 compared to San Francisco only allowing 15 points per game. Okay, so in the playoffs, Kansas City is beating their opponent by an average of 15.5 points per game, while San Francisco is beating a team by an average of 17. Now, they've been beating their teams in a different way, however. Kansas City has gotten down in their first few games, and then they came back and ended up winning their games by a lot of points. Then there's San Francisco, who has been consistently just beating away, chipping away, getting a big lead, and end up winning by a decent amount, as shown by them winning by 17 points per game in the playoffs. Now, that might not help San Francisco, because the one thing I talked about, the Ravens earlier in the season, they were wondering, well, how are they going to do, because they always had a big lead, and people were wondering how are they going to do when they don't have that big lead. And that might have been a part that actually hindered them against the Titans when they ended up losing, when they looked like the most dominant team in the NFL. That's going to hurt San Francisco a little bit, but I don't think it won't very much. Now, Tennessee didn't have a huge lead against Kansas City in that game, and that is because they were a rushing team. They were not the Houston Texans. When they got up 24-0, they used Deshaun Watson. He was a very dynamic, he is an unbelievable quarterback, and he is just really good. Garoppolo is not Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is just a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care if you're looking at regular season, postseason, Deshaun Watson's just better. He's more explosive, and that's how the Texans got a 24-point lead. And even then, Kansas City was able to come back. So don't expect San Francisco to get a big lead like that, because Garoppolo's not going to do that. And that running game's not going to be able to get them a huge lead like that early, especially against a very explosive Kansas City offense. And honestly, a very underrated Kansas City defense. And here's the thing. If you look at the sacks in the postseason and even in the regular season, people are always talking about San Francisco's passing rush is great. They're really good. They sack. They have very good pressure on the quarterback. They had 48 sacks in the regular season, and they had 9 sacks in the postseason. Kansas City had 45 sacks in the regular season and 8 sacks. So they were averaging just a tiny bit more per game in the regular season, just about half a sack more per game in the postseason. And when you look at the stats for the regular season and postseason, San Francisco's allowed the same amount of sacks on Garoppolo in the postseason, 3, as KC has on Mahomes in 3. And Mahomes is passing a lot more than Garoppolo is. And that's basically showing one thing for me, is that the Chiefs' passing rush will probably be more dominant in this game. They'll be more important than San Francisco's passing rush. Now, not to think that San Francisco's pass rush won't be very important to the game, because they will be. But I think Kansas City's going to have a lot more of an impact, because I think they'll be able to get to Garoppolo a lot more, because they can sack almost just as well as San Francisco, and San Francisco is not as good at defending that, really. And I think if Kansas City can do what they did to Derrick Henry in Tennessee, if they can stop that running game, they're going to win. Because Garoppolo, I just don't think is going to be able to go against that. I mean, he's going to get sacked a lot. He has not been passing a lot in the past few weeks. Like, for the past month in the playoffs, he has barely passed the ball. Now, he is a good quarterback, but it's like you got to think there's going to be a little bit, a tiny bit of rust there from not getting used to throwing a lot. Now, also, if the 49ers can stop Mahomes, because they do a very good pass rush, and if they can stop Mahomes, if they can keep him in the pocket and not let him escape, I think they have a very good shot, because they have very good edge rushers, very fast edge rushers. Nick Bosa is incredible. He is very fast. He's a freak of nature, and I think he can honestly catch up to Mahomes. If he can stay on that edge, it's going to be very hard for Mahomes to escape the sack. And if they can stop Mahomes, they can stop the entire Kansas City offense, because Damian Williams not being able to do anything. And if they're running it right at that defensive line for San Francisco, they're not going to be able to do much. So basically, I think Kansas City stops San Francisco's running game, they win. If San Francisco stops Patrick Mahomes, they win. So it's really down to which one is more difficult to stop. Is it more difficult to stop that San Francisco rushing attack that's averaging about 240 yards per game in the playoffs, or Patrick Mahomes, a league MVP and probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now? And I just think it's going to be more difficult to stop Mahomes. San Francisco normally runs a zone, and their secondary is probably the weakness of their defense. It's still good, but it's the weakness. The front seven's a lot better. And they have so many guys. They have Kelsey, they have Hill, they have Hardman, they have Watkins. And the thing is that Hill is going to be matched up probably with Sherman for most of the game. Sherman's a very good corner, but he's getting up there. He's about 31 years old. He's not as fast as he used to be. And Tyreek Hill is obviously probably the fastest guy in the NFL. And I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a very good game, because I think he's going to be able to do pretty well against that zone, which Mahomes has been able to do incredible at this season. And even though that rushing game for them's been very good, it's still Raheem Mostert. He's a good running back, don't get me wrong, and that is an unbelievable rushing offensive line. But I just don't think they're going to be able to do what they did against Green Bay. I think Green Bay their record was way too good for how they actually were as a team. And I think that stats line, even though it was still incredible in the NFC Championship game, it's not going to be like that against Kansas City. It's just not going to be. And so, my prediction for this game is the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this game 30-27. It's going to be a close game, but I see KC being able to win. Because I don't think San Francisco is going to be able to chip away at a lead like that. Because the Chiefs just aren't going to stop. They're not going to go on a drought later in the game. They've been a lot better at the end of the game specifically. So I don't think San Francisco will be able to do what they've done this entire postseason, which is just slowly get a big lead like they have been. And some of my predictions for the game is Tyreek Hill's going to have a big game. He's going to have at least 100 yards, I think. And I think the Chiefs are going to have more sacks on Garoppolo than the Niners will have on Patrick Mahomes. And those are my predictions for Super Bowl 54. And thank you for watching.